Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Simple Astrology. I woke up this morning and I thought, it feels like a good day for Leo. And that's where we've reached in this little series. For those of you who have been listening, not that you need to listen in any particular order, but I'm going in order for this round. And for anyone who doesn't know me, my name is Tara. I am an evolutionary astrologer. And really, astrology's made such a difference in my life. I love sharing it and I love learning more about it. And one of the ways I do that is by kind of putting myself out there. So here I am, and we're moving into the fifth sign. It's interesting that, sometimes I don't always double check to see, I don't even always plan when I'm going to record things. I like to go kind of with my gut. But when I got up this morning and I felt like, it feels like a Leo day. It's not a Leo moon today, but it is Mars conjunct Chiron in Aries. And so there's definitely that fiery energy, and maybe that's what I'm picking up on. But whatever it is, it's leading us into the Leo zone, which for me personally, I have a Leo moon conjunct Mars. And so this is a big part of like the force that animates me. And so let's back up, because we started the wheel, of course, with Aries, the first sign, and that's cardinal. We moved to Taurus, which is fixed. And then we went to Gemini, that is mutable. That finished our first little triad of the modes or modalities. And then again, we started another triad with Cancer last time. The Cancer being a cardinal sign. Cardinal signs always initiating something new. And so after we initiate something new, the sign that follows the cardinal sign, being a fixed sign, its job is really to secure, to stabilize, and then once it secures and stabilizes, to maintain the energy. Fixed energy is also always about value, meaning, and purpose. So whatever was initiated, like, we want to prove that it works. We want to prove that it's worthy, that it's valuable, that it can endure, and that we can stay with it through the tests of time. So we have kind of a couple different ways that we can look at Leo energy, and without running on forever about it. So I'm going to keep an eye on the time, because I think sometimes if we go on too long, we kind of lose sort of the potency. So I may not cover, certainly I won't cover nearly all of the broad field of energy that is Leo, but I may not even hit on some of the main points, but let's just see where we go. One way to look at Leo energy is how it follows Cancer. So in Cancer, we initiate the emotional experience of ourselves, which ultimately is forming our own self-identity. Sometimes I talk about that this is like defining our own edges, right? It really is where Cancer is linked with containers, right? And so we have a container in this lifetime. Cancer energy is so much about fleshing that out for ourselves. And in childhood, and this, if you don't have this or want to know more about this, just go, watch the Simple Astrology Cancer video on my channel. But just to shortly recap, because it helps us really understand Leo, is this idea that we reach a point in our development where we recognize that we are a separate self with separate feelings, and we can create ourselves into who we want ourselves to be. I sometimes say we feel ourselves into being with Cancer. So if one of the whole ideas around Cancer is to establish the self-identity in a more conscious way, it is to establish emotional security. It is to kind of establish the root of, hey, here's who I am. Well, then Leo, being the fixed sign that follows it, is looking for the value, meaning, and purpose in the who I am, in the identity that I created. You can already get a feel for how this flavor happens in Leo, right? Because Leo is so much about, in many cases, and there are different ways that Leo expresses. So just hold that loosely. But in many cases, and in most cases, Leo on some level wants to be seen wants to prove that they are lovable, that they deserve applause. They want cheerleaders. You know, sometimes more than anything, Leos want cheerleaders, and even at times they can go for the cheerleader even over, right, the deeper real connection, because there's a deep desire in Leo to prove that the self that I've created, or the personality of who I am, it's lovable, right? Ultimately, at the heart level, Leo wants to be loved. And every fixed sign on some level has a scarcity complex, you know, feels like there's not going to be enough of something. And so on a deep, oftentimes subconscious level, there is a feeling like I need to do whatever it takes to get enough of that, or to get my piece of that before it runs out. And with Leo, oftentimes that is love, which can then lead to, let's just take it like children in school need to be the favorite student, right? Need to be the favorite person, need to be the popular person, need to be the most special. See, Leo is so programmed to prove itself, which, by the way, is what it's supposed to be doing. So sometimes, you know, we get annoyed with big Leo personalities that are kind of all about themselves. But here's the thing, like, they're supposed to be doing themselves. Cancer was like solidifying, initiating and sort of solidifying that the bedrock of this self, but it's Leo that's out there taking the show on the road. So I'm not saying that it's always fun to be a part of Leo energy. I know my own back or shadow side of my Leo comes up a lot. It can be around sometimes needing to be special. I know one time, even just little simple things like I catch myself with, with my teachers, or, with my boss, or in different situations, maybe with my partner, where I do like to be the special one. And so I just sometimes don't notice that it's rising up until all of a sudden I get in a situation where maybe someone else is getting all the attention, right? Or someone else is getting all the praise, or someone else gets chosen for something, or, like maybe with my partner, maybe we are doing something with his extended family, and so where I'm normally used to his one-on-one attention, all of a sudden now, it doesn't feel that way. So these are like the Leo energy can kick up because it has this natural desire to say, well, wait, I got to prove myself. And if somewhere underneath you believe that there might not be enough love and attention to go around, you can see how it gets kind of contorted into a little bit of a competition to get it, and this thing with attention is, one of the most difficult things for Leo is to be ignored. It's interesting, like Leo would rather have bad attention than no attention, because someone giving me some attention at least means that they notice me. The ultimate most awful thing for a Leo is to be completely just, ignored, not even registering on the scale. That's the biggest, oh my God, like that's painful. So I always feel that with Leo, you got to take a risk. If there's not a risk involved in what you're sharing or what you're expressing, then it's not that it's a right or wrong thing. It's just not really into the heart of Leo. It's not fulfilling sort of the contract you have with your Leo energy. Everybody has Leo energy somewhere. So you can see what house rules Leo. Go see where the sun is in your chart, because, the sun is the ruling luminary or planet of Leo. You can go check those things out, because that's where you need to express yourself. That's where you need to, on some level, take what's inside of you, right? That Cancer stuff, what's inside you personally, and to externalize it somewhere way out into the world. And with Leo, there's an element of even, it's like immortalizing yourself. Take a piece of inner me and make it into something that will last in the world, that I can be remembered by, a little piece of me, right? So this is the idea of the creativity with Leo. It's about coming from the heart, coming from the inside, and then putting that outside. But if we're not confident inside, right, if we didn't do the good foundational Cancer work, and if we didn't like really feel ourselves out and really sort of figure out what is my heart, and where is my heart leading me, and what makes my heart happy, and what makes my heart open, what makes me open to receive, all some of these like Cancer things. If we haven't done that, then we end up on stages. And I'm using stage as a metaphor because Leo doesn't have to put on a show in front of a bunch of people. It could be just in front of one person, but you get yourself on a stage where one, either it's the complete wrong audience, or the show you're putting on isn't authentic to you at all. It's a show that you've realized that you get applause and attention for maybe, but it's not true to you. It's not there's not real you coming out. And that's what I mean by that vulnerability with Leo, is that you have to take a risk to really share yourself without knowing if someone's going to love it or like it. If you already know they're going to like it, there's not a risk involved, right? Leo is this part of why it needs to have the amount of pride that it does, courage that it has, is for those moments, because you got to show up and test it out. So thinking back to this idea of fixed signs, it's interesting because Leo is one of the ones with fixed energy that it kind of doesn't feel very fixed, because we think about, oh, it's always, taking the lead. It fills the room up with all of its energy. Like, we've all been around Leo energy sometimes where it literally like sucks every bit of energy out of the room. Like, it's exhausting. The person just like needs attention. They need to be center stage, no matter what it is. Like, it could be in the, in the bank or something. Like, this doesn't have to be in a creative venue. I just mean whatever situation you're in, that person they just need it, and they need it, and they need it. And it just like takes over everything, and everybody feels exhausted and drained. So we've all been around that energy, but we've probably all also been around Leo energy that has literally lit up the room, that just like the childlike sort of shine, if you will, for life, for sharing, it's like radiating, generating energy, one of the power sides of Leo. And it motivates others to do and be the same. Its creativity or its passion is contagious. And one of the fantastic things about Leo is, in the same way that Leo wants to be special, it knows how to make other people feel special. So there's nobody like a Leo to, at least maybe one that's at least done some of its, reached a point where it's not completely self-absorbed, to literally be able to give you 100, 200% attention and make you feel like you're the only thing on the planet in that moment. And from time to time, we all need that. All right, so we know there's different ways that the Leo energy works for sure. And it's extreme. It's the sun, right? I mean, think about the sun. The sun, we can't look at it directly or it burns our retina. Sometimes Leo feels that way. It's not very filtered down. Like, you need sometimes sunglasses, whether you are the one that's super filled with the Leo energy or whether you're around the Leo energy. Like, sometimes just a little bit of shading, turn the blinds down a little bit, like, because full force can just be too much. But back to this idea of fixed energy with Leo, where I was going is that it doesn't always feel very fixed. And here's where I had a conversation some years ago with astrologer Gregory Nalbandian. And I don't even know it doesn't matter what brought it up, but we were talking about Leo and about Leo being, so creative and doing so many things. And as we were talking, he said something about, he was like, yeah, Leo is super creative, and they will like continue to create. I mean, and they will endure and like make the thing happen when they want it to happen. And he's so right about that. It's true for me, with my Leo energy. If I want to do something, I have the ability to I have the energy to go, and that's fixed sign for sure. Hunker down, get it done, do it. It's not just the spark that gets things going. It's like the huge bonfire. If you think about fire energy, Aries is, the blowtorch, just like the straight, just a fire, just goes forward. It's uncontainable, right? Leo's the bonfire. It keeps on going for a really long time. It's really hot at the center. So you can kind of feel that energy with Leo of it's not as straight flaming out like Aries. They're both passionate signs, but Leo has more containment. Leo, because it's fixed energy, instead of all the energetic, if you think little arrow points, instead of them shooting straight out, because it's fixed energy, all the little arrow points shoot back in. So it builds, builds, builds on the inside. A lot of fire churning around on the inside of Leo. But just like I was sharing with my conversation with Gregory, but Leo's got to want to do it. Value, meaning, and purpose. If it doesn't have value, meaning, and purpose to me, probably not going to get me to budge and do anything. I might be the most creative person on the planet, and no thank you, I'm not interested. Because Leo, and Leo especially being it so subjective in nature, right? These things feel a little bit different when we get to the fixed signs of Scorpio and Aquarius, but with Leo, we're still dealing with very subjective energy, subjective viewpoint or a lens of seeing life. And so the motivation is very self-driven. Again, as it's meant to be. I'm not promoting super egos or super self-centeredness or any of these things. But my point here is that Leo's supposed to be centered in self. It is supposed to be centered in self. It is supposed to be literally stabilizing itself, finding the value within itself, and being able to like hold on for the long haul to like show that it's worthy. So you can see like that takes a lot of effort. Fixed signs do exert a lot of sustained effort. So what other things about Leo? Leo, oftentimes, it's interesting, we will talk about, oh, it's so creative or creativity. Think really broad with creativity. Things like the more traditional artistic expression, it's not that you don't find it with Leo, but those really tend to move more into Venusian, Libra, and sometimes Taurus type things, especially if there's music involved. So I'm always really like, when I'm talking about Leo, self-expression is almost a better word, but there is a need to create something from the self. We just have to be careful because these days the word creativity is really kind of turned into a monster. And then for people who don't feel creative, it's a turnoff to them. And even the term creative now, like, what does it really mean? Because everybody's creative. Clearly, we're all creating our lives. We're all creative beings. Leo needs to have fun. Right. So if you have strong Leo energy in your chart, like you need to be having a good time. You need to be doing things that fill you up with energy. I always think with the sun, anything the sun touches or the sun rules, and in this case, the sun ruling Leo, you want to think about what experiences, what things, even what foods you eat, what shows you watch, what books you read, what people you spend time with, do they light you up? Do they leave you with more energy than you had before? Do they inspire you? Do they brighten you up? Right? Leo is not, okay, here's a funny story. At least it's funny to me. Both my parents have Scorpio moons. For any of you who know anything about Scorpio moons, there's a lot of emotional turmoil. A lot of it's under the surface. There's a lot of control dynamics. And in some respects, everything kind of has sort of a deep, questionable edge. Are things trustworthy? And there can be a certain level of feeling like emotional trauma, And in some respects, a Scorpio moon, it wants to feel the emotional trauma. It wants to feel emotionally wrecked. It wants to feel alive. And so part of it is there, whether people are aware of it or not. And so I took a lot of that on in me. And it wasn't until a number of years ago where all of a sudden one day I was like, I don't have a Scorpio moon. I have a Leo moon. I don't need to be so emotionally intense. Right? And that was a turning point for me. It was like a Leo turning point for me that really kind of freed me up. It was like, okay, whoa, like I don't have to go so deep. Like I can just have a good time sometimes. I can just do things because they're enjoyable. That's part of the thing with Leo too, is choosing things because they're fun. Choosing things because you want to. Again, back to the authentic, vulnerable expression of this is really what's in my heart to say or do. This is what I really love. This is what I really like. This is how I like to do it. And Leo brings out that inner child. It reconnects you with, when you were young, when you were small, those things that without you overthinking them and without someone telling you them that they were a good idea, bad idea, or, oh my God, you look ridiculous when you do that, or all those things that make us have inhibitions. Leo is like, at its pure heartedness, is free of that. In the tarot, the Sun card, which of course, the Sun being the ruler of Leo, so if I'm talking about the Sun card, there is another card specifically, the Strength, Lust or Strength card is associated with Leo as well. But I want to talk about the Sun card here because in the Sun deck, it is like a representation of our divinity, but that divinity is almost always pictured as a naked child, like a glowing child with a sunlit halo glowing. Leo's is the inner divinity coming out in our humanity. Of course, that's going to be clunky. Of course, we're going to have tendencies to think that we're greater than we are. And then there's going to be other moments when, we're embarrassed to even come out of the corner. There are lots of Leos out there that don't jump out there and put themselves on the forefront of everything. They hide back. Leo, at the heart of it, is terrified of being laughed at, terrified of embarrassment. And there's nothing worse than just being you, like just doing you, and then having people laugh, that fear of humiliation, right? So again, it takes that strong formation in the sign before with Cancer, the initiation of fleshing out the self-identity and also developing the emotional self-security, the deep root in something that's way more meaningful and way deeper than any surface experience of someone that might laugh, someone that might not like what you're doing, right? It's not easy to put yourself out there and to just put yourself out there expecting nothing in return. But the more that we can do that, the more Leo shines. And if Leo is a strong presence for you, then doing more of that is so healthy. Maybe what you do is the next post you do on social media or the next anything you put out there, maybe you don't wait and check to see what the likes and the loves are. Maybe you try more often just doing something, literally putting it out there, and maybe you don't even go back and review it and censor it before you post it. Maybe you just let yourself be seen as how you are, like raw in that moment, vulnerable in that moment. So what if you didn't say the right word? So what if you moved in a weird way? So what if you had a booger in your nose? So what if your shirt was on backwards? I put my shirt on backwards last week. Literally, I think it was the last video, the last simple astrology video. I recorded it with my shirt on backwards. That was just how my day was. I don't like putting out stuff that makes me look stupid or silly, but authenticity is so important to me. The people that have moved me and helped grow me the most in life have been such real people. I haven't always liked everything about them, but I know that I'm getting them when I'm with them. That's encouraged me to be and give more me. And that's really like where it's at with Leo. And Leo, it wants right at the heart, even those who hide in the corner, even those that are sort of like, oh no, I could never do that, or I'm too embarrassed. even using that language is putting the attention back on them, because they're still focused on them. You get it? Like, that's Leo, focused on me. Whether I go out on the stage or talk about how I could never go on the stage, the focus is still on me. Leo, it wants love. Well, we all want love, right? But Leo particularly, like that childhood space of wanting to be loved for who we are, it's strong. It needs to be honored. It needs to be loved. It needs to be held and given space to express. Sometimes we got to give ourselves a redo of things we didn't get in childhood. That's a little awkward as adults too, but you can make room for that. But where I'm going with and how I want to wind this up is that what Leo wants, that attention, that love, for people to be drawn to it, for people to see it as it is and to celebrate that. A lot of the frustration in not getting that comes from more false attempts to get it, or attempts to get attention, like I was saying earlier, that don't come from a place of authenticity, from being a dog and pony show, when that's really not you at all, wearing costumes that aren't you, trying to show off how good you are instead of just being who you are. But here's the thing, and this, I promise this works. I mean, it just is. It's like one of the laws of the universe. When you get into that Leo space of just really just enjoying what you love, doing what you love, sharing what you love, when you come from the heart, when you don't worry so much about the audience, when you don't worry so much about how it's received, when you don't worry so much about whether or not someone else is going to love you, but you just do what you love and you just go love who you love, the world is attracted like a magnet to that. Not every single person, because your energy won't align with every single person. But I mean, the people whose natural flow attracts to your natural flow, they just come. You get what you want by just doing and creating and being what you are. It's very true. It's actually very simple with Leo. We overcomplicate it. I haven't talked about the polarity point, so I should do that quickly because I've been trying with an intention to do that. I guess with Leo, I don't want to go to the polarity point, which makes sense, right? Leo really likes to stay with itself. No, I've been talking about the stage and the audience, just metaphorically. It can be real too, right? Lots of Leos, they oftentimes have that star quality, so they truly may be a performer. But in this sense, we're looking at Leo as developing the star act, being the star of the show, and Aquarius being the audience, being the greater good that quote unquote act serves. So to find the right audience, to find the right community, to find the right place where your special gifts are not just honored and loved, but like where they're needed. That's what I'm saying. That falls into place when you've got yourself, Cancer self-defined from the heart, which is from the heart really is a blending over of Cancer into Leo. And then going and doing that thing that you know is you. And then these pieces integrate, right? The community shows up. All of a sudden what to share with the community. It's like a magical thing how those two come together. If you're too stuck in the Leo side, you need the objectivity of Aquarius. Aquarius, it really is able to step on the outside and watch in, and it can watch through different filters, coming up with different ideas, seeing from different perspectives, because it's not stuck in the center, right? So like this idea that, yeah, the sun is the center of our solar system, but if you just move somewhere else, the perspective is totally different. Leo just gets fixated as that fixed sign that it is on its own center. So moving out to the Aquarius perspective is very healthy. It also is just an ease on the heart, because then you just don't have to take things so personally. But too much Aquarius, you lose sight of the humanity. You know, you can sometimes literally lose yourself in the crowd, or you become so abstract or so on the fringe that you lose sort of where your center of power is. Because each of us is here to give something of ourselves. Clearly, we're here to evolve and develop and grow ourselves. But in that process, we also have something to share and give. They're intertwined. They essentially are the same. And in many respects, that polarity between Leo and Aquarius is that dynamic. It's that dynamic field of, I'm putting on the show, but I'm also part of the entire stage where the show is happening, all at the same time. I am the greater perspective and I am the smaller perspective. I am the center and I am the periphery. And while it is always important to be loved, it's always most important to love ourselves. Another real Leo lesson. Because if I'm loving me up a lot, I'm not going to need as much from outside. And I'm actually going to be more attractive to other people. You know, people are attracted oftentimes to what they feel they lack. And if Leo, you know, if Leo has someone with strong Leo, if you've come into this lifetime struggling with that love piece, but then you reach a place where you recognize that you now know how to not just keep that tank full, but like the Leo sun generator, literally, like, you know, the more you share it, the more you give it, the more you express it, the more you have. That's what I'm saying. People come to that like a magnet. They don't have to worry so much about getting on the right stage. And even if you get on the stage that isn't the right stage, you say, oh, whoops, you know, let me just step back and maybe take a minute to, you know, rethink it. You don't know until you try it. So staying personally engaged, staying personally embodied with yourself is super important, so that you have, you know, you have a self to fully give, but not being so attached to the outcomes or the reactions or, you know, anything truly in the external. That healthy Aquarius, that's what helps you just to do it and to keep doing it and to do it differently, to find different people to do it with. Leo, very much, it's not just about, the sun doesn't exist in the solar system by itself, it's about co-creation. So Aquarius very much reminds us that without the whole rest of the solar system, who would care? I mean, all these things are about integrations and interactions and interrelatedness. Aquarius reminds us of that. The more healthy everybody's individual sun is, the better and stronger we are as a collective. They feed each other. Cool. All right. Well, I feel like I've had my Leo dose for today. I thank you for joining me, whatever space, time, place you're in. And as always, feel free to reach out. I'm not the best at checking comments on YouTube, but if you go to my website or if you email me or get a hold of me, I would love to hear from you. And I wish you well, and I look forward to next time. Take care, everybody.